It's always fun working in engine rooms. Gotta love it. Be a nice boat when it's finished, but a little bit more work to do on it yet.
Like inside. Hey? Any gags hanging around?
Job's done.
Job's done.
Well, it's time to do a bit of maintenance that I shouldn't have to do. When I was away last year, November, my water pump that was part of the freshwater system on the boat let me down after 20 years of service. Had a good run out of it, and I went and bought a Shore Flow, SPX Flow Johnson pump, which was quite expensive, one of the better models. And unfortunately, when we came back on board the boat to cruise down the Tweed, this one stopped working. And if you have a look, you can see it's got water going into the motor. See the rust mark there, so there's a bit of water getting into the motor compartment, and that stopped the motor from working, I think. So the motor's just not functioning. To give Johnson their due, they were very quick at fixing the problem. They shipped me out a new pump without any questions asked, just shipped it to me. They reckon that's what's happened. The diaphragm in the pump's been faulty, and that's let water through onto the electronic side of the motor. So they've sent one out to me, not a problem at all. I just got to get down and replace it now. So just down into the bilge, and a small job, but you always got something on when you're on a boat. Well, what I'm going to do with this pump, I had it mounted on the top of the tank. What I'm going to try and do is mount it vertically on the wall, and by doing that it may just stop any water leak in the pump running into the motor itself. So we'll try that, see how it goes. I'm sure it shouldn't have a leak this time, but if it does, it might just stop the motor from breaking down, because the water getting back into the little electric motor is what stopped the other one. So I'll just have to make sure my hoses are long enough to reach. I think I can just about do it, and we'll mount it up vertically and see what it's like. It'll be out of the way there anyway, be good. One of the things I hate about getting old is having to wear bloody glasses. Just can't see a friggin' thing. If you've got the right tools, it makes it easier. Black one there. Just put these on so that you can't connect it up the wrong way. If you're ever doing these crimp terminals on a boat, it's pretty important to have a good set of crimp pliers. Don't get the cheap ones. Invest in a really good set that really crimp the fittings up. I learnt early in the piece that if you skimp by just using cheap pliers, you can end up with bad connections. So if you do it properly with a good pair of pliers, you should never have that problem. I think these crimping pliers cost me 90 bucks or something back in the day, but they do a great job of making sure that the crimp is really secure. Okay, job's done. So we've got black to black, red to red. That cunt's running now, so should bleed it. I think it should be right. Have a look. Alright, 3 weeks in the Tweed River. First time I've ever left the boat on anchor while I've gone away and worked and done things like that. I was on board every night, but yeah, it was a bit of a different experience leaving the boat anchored for that long. A bit of slime on the anchor chain when it came up this morning, but the motor started alright, and we got some good weather this morning for getting out across the Tweed Bar and heading back up to the Gold Coast. Okay, when you're crossing bars in New South Wales, the law is you must wear a life jacket when you're crossing the bar. So we've all got our jackets on, even Ted's got one. Pretty good law really, because things can happen pretty quickly on bars, and you don't want to be scrambling around looking for a life jacket while your boat's heading upside down. So get your life jackets on before you cross. It's probably a pretty good rule. That was a good bar crossing again. Doesn't just happen though. I've been looking at the weather for a week and sort of pinpointed today as being the day to cross, and you just keep watching it day after day and making sure it's not going to change too much. But look at the weather, look at the swell heights, the wave heights, and if you do that right and do it on an incoming tide, which we did, we waited for an hour or so this morning until the tide was coming in. It was a pretty slow crossing, we were down to 2.5 knots, but at least with the tide going with the swells, it's not going to stand the waves up on the bar. So it's always good to do bar crossings with an incoming tide. The last 2 hours of the incoming tide are the best time for most boats. Anyhow, we're out now. It's not too bad out here. We're just hoping the wind leaves us alone for another 2 or 3 hours until we get down to the Gold Coast Seaway, and then we'll be back home. Been good working on my mate's boat. Been a bit of a challenge. The weather's been really hot. We've had a lot of very hot days in the factory he's got the boat in, and it's been pretty challenging, but we did get a lot done, so it was great, and I'll probably come back and give him a bit more of a hand down the track as well. But anyway, we're going to enjoy this trip across the Gold Coast and another night in the boat before we head back down to Byron and start getting ready to do our trip to Heron Island. Pleasant trip so far. We've snuck in a bit closer to the beach just to have a look and to try and get out of the current. We were pushing about 2 knots of current out wide, so come in a bit closer and see if we can get some relief from the East Australian current. But anyway, it's a pretty good day, so as long as the wind stays like this, we'll be up at the Seaway bar in about an hour and a half, and we'll get into the calm waters of the Gold Coast Broadwater. Nice views here though, great. been a pretty large day. We had a good trip up from the Tweed and a nice easy crossing coming into the Seaway. We just motored up to Paradise Point. We're just anchored in behind Sovereign Island now, and we'll wait for the tide in the morning and head up the Coomera River back into the marina. So be back home up there. But yeah, it's the end of a short cruise down to the Tweed and back, and 3 weeks in the river. It was good fun. Lots of bats around at the moment. Yeah, when we got here this afternoon, we walked down to Paradise Point and had a lovely little Japanese meal with a bit of Japanese beer, and came back and had a little sleep this afternoon. That's all good, and we're just settling in for the night. The mystery woman is just cooking a little bit of dinner. I just took Ted ashore for a walk, and we'll settle in for the night as the bats head out to feed on Stradbroke Island. Plenty of them around. It's wet the next morning, and as we head upriver, we come across a couple who've broken down on their yacht. They're looking for a tow up to Boatworks, and as we're headed that way, we grab their line and help them out.
He's coming at you. We have that stern line just undone, please.
We managed to get them onto a pontoon at Boatworks and then travel back to Hope Island Marina, where we've been allocated a berth. Hey, you Bowen. That's Sri Lankan for hello. It's a big year this year. I've met a new lady, Wendy. You've met her in one of the other episodes, the mystery lady on the boat. She comes with a dog called Ted, who's a real little ripper. He loves the boat, and I really love Ted. He's a good little dog. So I'm getting my doggy fix again. But I've promised to show Wendy a bit of the coast, and in turn she's promised to show me a little bit of overseas travel. So the end of this week, we're driving to Gladstone. We're going to jump on the ferry and head out to Heron Island for 5 days. Now, I've been to Heron a couple of times on the boat, and I've anchored off Heron, but because I had Pip on board, I couldn't really take her ashore, and I couldn't get ashore and film it. So by going out in the ferry, I'll be able to film Heron and let you have a look at that. So we've got 5 days of relaxing out at Heron, hopefully a bit of snorkeling and probably a bit of reading and that as well. But we should have a good time out there. Then we're back for 3 weeks, and then after that, early March, we're heading off to Sri Lanka. So Wendy had booked the trip before I met her, and we sort of decided we were getting on really well, so let's try travelling overseas together. And I guess if I was going to travel overseas, Sri Lanka would be one of the last places I would even think about, but apparently it's pretty good, so I'm really looking forward to heading over there now. We jump on a plane, we fly to Singapore, and then change planes there. I think 2 hours in Singapore, and then we fly to Colombo, the capital of Sri Lanka. And once we're there, we're going to do a 15-day tour around the island. So we'll see a fair bit of the country, which should be fun. And of course, I'll film it while I'm over there and bring it to you in coming episodes. Anyhow, don't worry, there'll be plenty of cruising videos around the corner. When we get back, I've got to hard stand the boat, and I'll get it ready to go. And then when we get back from Sri Lanka, we'll be looking at doing some cruising. So plenty to do this year, a bit of international travel and a lot more travel up and down this great Australian east coast that I love so much. But I can assure you there's going to be plenty more cruising videos just around the corner. But looking forward to a pretty exciting year. So yeah, cheers everyone.